1 year ago today, you know who was trending to be the number one seed in the NFC?
Philadelphia.
They were 8-1. They proceeded to go 3-5 down the stretch.
Mm-hmm.
The Cowboys came from 2.5 games back, won the division, and Philly got bounced in the first round by Tampa.
Yeah, and then Dallas got bounced in the first round by Green Bay.
The point being, that's how much things can change between now and the end of the season. Because I was trying to think, well, what's the equivalent? I guess the equivalent is the Bears come back and win the division, take it from the Lions, and the Lions lose to the Rams in the first round of the playoffs, which is, I mean, it's honestly unthinkable the way these teams are playing. But if we had done that, if we'd set that scenario up a year ago and say Philly's 8-1, but Dallas, who was, I believe at the time 5-3, came from that deficit, won the division, and Philly unraveled. Now, there's a lot of differences. Okay, we can point them all out. Like at the time, I don't think anybody realized what a foof Sirianni has kind of turned into, and people have a ton of faith in Dan Campbell keeping this thing together. I asked Jared Goff about how do you bottle this? Like, how do you keep it up? And he said, look, we're going to face some adversity the rest of the way, and he's right.
They've already, and I was glad that he said that they've already faced adversity. Like what I talked about, all the injuries, they've faced adversity. They've got a wide receiver suspended for 2 games. Jamo's not able to play on Sunday, but they'll find a way. And it's impressive. Head injuries, big guys being banged up on the offensive line. Players have missed a game here and there. They've been through it, and because they've stayed together, this team has been built from the ground up. From 4 years ago when they first inherited, Jared Goff and the draft picks, and then went to the draft, they have completely rebuilt this roster with very few exceptions, and these guys can say they can rely on things that happened 2 years ago, and so we overcame that 2 years ago or last season. It doesn't just have to be germane to this year, because they've all stuck together and been there together for this long. It's also interesting when you bring up the data with Dallas and what happened last year with Philadelphia and the flip-flop there. You can't, momentum, I guess, would mean nothing. Because if Dallas had the momentum screaming into the playoffs and then they got smoked at home by Green Bay, what does that say? The team that looks like the best football team during the entire course of the season, that's probably the team that's the best football team, not the one that gets hot at the end,
right. or
the
one
that was hot at the beginning. You got to be consistent.
And Detroit's play is carried over a number of years. I mean, also a year ago, Kansas City was 7-2, right? I mean, they went on to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Who'd they lose to?
They were playing. They lost the opener, and then they only lost one other game between now and Week 9, the Week 9 game from a year ago, right before the trade deadline. And so, I guess, I just don't know how. I hope they can bottle this. I hope they can bottle this because they're living the dream. I mean, it's one of those weird things where how often do you watch the Lions play this year and say to yourself, I can't believe this is our football team. Like, I cannot believe this is our football team. And that they're going out and, I mean, offensively, I meant what I said to Goff. I feel like they're showing off. I fully expect at some point this year, Jake Bates is going to throw a touchdown pass to TJ Lang. Like, they're going to just do something. They're going to do something like that. They're going to, because what else can we do? Just because we can.
I hear you. In all honesty, it feels like that Penei Sewell is going to throw a football pass.
And without question. And I sit here and I don't want to come across like if you're a fan of another team, how arrogant is this Karsch guy? It's stunned. It's not, I don't misinterpret this. I am stunned at the product we are seeing from the Honolulu Blue and Silver. And I guess we shouldn't be because there's a lot of evidence that supports this is who they are. It's still just some sort of alternate universe thing given how long we have suffered. And the dude, Chris from New York, calls and says that people in New York are saying, you guys deserve this, which is awesome. It's really cool. People aren't going to find this to be a cute story that they actually kind of like forever.
No, but I feel like it is a great story. And unfortunately, this story has been told in a while.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that back in the day, people loved Barry Sanders. And when that Lions team was good, did I think maybe people around this country they were rooting for the Lions of Barry Sanders?
And he was easy to like because the Lions were harmless.
Yeah, and he was a humble guy and just hand the ball off. He wasn't, brash or any of that. And that's what the whole team was, This team is different. This team has style. They've got sizzle. And when that caller said that, there's so much fun to watch, and maybe the most fun he's ever seen watching a football team outside of one of his own teams, I start to think, it immediately jarred memories to me of, okay, what's the most fun I've watched a football team in my life? And it's probably the San Diego Chargers from the 80s, with the early 80s with Dan Fouts, and they had all those offensive weapons. They were amazing with Jefferson and Joyner and Wes Chandler and Chuck Muncie and all these guys. They were amazing offensively. It was so much fun to watch. The greatest show on turf, the Rams team from the St. Louis Rams team. They were fun to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Is this team more fun to watch than that? Is this
more
fun
for
to
us.
watch? I mean, certainly for us. Kansas City's team from whatever it was 6-7 years ago when they were just starting to get really good, and Tyreek Hill was there, and I think Mecole Hardman was there the first time, and they have Kareem Hunt on those teams. That was an explosive team to watch. This team is incredible to watch because they have so many different ways they can go offensively. Things don't get stale. They spice things up all the time. It's incredible to watch.